Good morning. Welcome to another session of E403 Distributed Generation and Smart Grids. So, before we proceed further, let us see this quote. If your dreams don't scare you, they are not big enough. So, we are still in module 3, and today we will complete the protection issues of standalone microgrid. So today we will see especially the protection of micro sources. So already we had discussed the major protection issues of standalone microgrid. There are 4, and out of that the first one is the distribution system fault protection. We have already gone through, and today we will be seeing number 2, 3, 4, and so we will start with the protection of micro sources. So the micro source protection schemes should consider the following issues. As you very well know that when an importing microgrid is suddenly disconnected, there will be fluctuations in the frequency. Why the frequency should fluctuate? The frequency should fluctuate because there is a loss of generation, or we can say the load is greater than the generation. So there is a load dispatching problem coming out here. So the frequencies will go down, or in general frequencies will fluctuate. So in a microgrid, voltages and frequencies need not be kept precisely at 50 Hertz. It can vary little more or less. For example, it can go from 50 Hertz, it can go to 51.5 and below 48.5. So a 1 plus minus 1.5 Hertz swing is acceptable. And microgrids are designed to work at a different frequency also. So we need anti-islanding protection of DERs. What is anti-islanding protection? We will see in the next slide. And we will also see how to disable it when the microgrid moves into the standalone mode. Then we also should discuss whether the existing anti-islanding technique, whether it may lead to instability if it is used in the standalone mode. And we will also see the need of an under-frequency load shedding scheme for better reliability of the microgrid. So first of all, we will see the modification of voltage and frequency windows. Modifying the voltage and frequency tolerance range is desirable for a standalone mode. This we had discussed earlier. Once again, you can see these are the characteristics of a storage and a micro source and another micro source. So when there is a sudden loss of generation, all these 3 will start working in a common new frequency. We call it F new, whereas F0 is the initial frequency, which is 50 Hertz. So suddenly, due to a loss of grid, the microgrid will start working in a new frequency. Similarly, whenever there is a shortage of Q, reactive power, the microgrid will start operating at a new voltage. So this is acceptable. So working in a new frequency or a new voltage is acceptable. Only we should be careful while synchronizing it back to the utility. At that time, the frequencies and the voltages should exactly match with that of the utility. So first of all, we have to study the impact of this voltage or frequency swing on the existing equipment within the microgrid. So if all the equipments can tolerate the acceptable voltage and frequency swings, then it is all right that microgrid works in a new voltage or a new frequency. Now this change should be done only through an intelligent central controller. Now we will see what is islanding and then what is anti-islanding. Islanding, you know it very well. So it refers to the condition of distributed generators that continues to feed the circuit with power even after power from the electric utility grid has been cut off. So in the islanding condition, distributed generators are energizing. Now this islanding can pose a dangerous threat to utility workers because they are not aware that the circuit is still live. So we need to do something to make sure that whenever there is an islanding, microgrid should not energize any part of the utility. So distributed generators must detect islanding and immediately stop feeding the utility lines with power. And this is called anti-islanding. So if you have a grid-tied solar power system at home, as per the law, you should have a grid-tie inverter with an anti-islanding function. This is as per the law. So this will sense the power outage and immediately it will physically disconnect the utility. So according to IEEE 1547 section 4, every microgrid shall detect islanding and cease to energize the grid within 2 seconds of islanding. So within 2 seconds, the microgrid should physically disconnect from the utility whenever there is an islanding. So if there is no islanding or in the absence of an islanding protection, microgrids will go uncontrolled islanding. So that is why we need anti-islanding protection. So it is desirable. But there is a problem. If it is not deactivated when the microgrid is in the islanding mode, it will cause fast tripping. So this is an undesirable activity. So on one side, anti-islanding protection is desirable till the microgrid and the utility is physically connected, and it is undesirable when it is physically disconnected. So during islanding, anti-islanding protection should be deactivated unless the ratio of utility generation to microsource generation is too high. And how to achieve is by sending a blocking signal from the central controller to the anti-islanding protection. Now load shedding and demand side management. So every power system is designed to deal with local or system-wide overload conditions caused by faults or equipment failure. So whenever we design a power system, we design it for local overload conditions which might be caused because of faults or maybe because of any equipment failure. So whenever there is a loss of grid or the generation going below the load requirement, utilities normally disconnect non-critical loads to stabilize system voltage and frequency during disturbances. So the utility normally provide non-critical customers with some favorable rates. Their electric charges will be less. So this is called basically DSM, demand side management. Now whenever there is a loss of generation, the frequency will drop, and we need an under frequency relay to shed the non-critical loads. So whenever the frequency is below the permissible limits, the under frequency relay will pick up and it will immediately disconnect the non-critical loads by using the circuit breaker connected to those feeders. So now let us see the National Electric Code requirements for distribution transformer protection. That is the third item. Now transformers are costly equipments and they should be protected against any short circuits. Now the Article 450 of the NEC prescribes that for any transformer, the overcurrent protection can be set as high as 600% of the rating. So they assume that the short circuit to maximum load current ratio be greater than 10. Now there is a complication coming in a microgrid which is connected to the grid. So depending on the location and rating of transformers and low fault currents in standalone mode, that is the problem. In a microgrid, the fault current magnitudes are low during standalone. So the transformer protection system may not pick up faults with a high setting, and this creates the transformer to remain unprotected against short circuits. So the next is the neutral grounding requirements, which is the last one. So we will see what is meant by neutral grounding. You see this picture, this is the secondary of a transformer situated in the substation. And you can see the secondary is Y connected or star connected. So the neutral is grounded. So whenever there is a fault in any one of the phase, let us say in this particular phase, A phase, so there you can see that there is a closed path for the current. Okay. So the neutral grounding must ensure effective fault protection, insulation integrity, and safety under the islanding mode. Basically, it provides a relatively low impedance path to ground. So that means the neutral maintains the system neutral near ground potential. It has another function also. It limits the magnitude of transient overvoltages when restriking ground faults occur. So what is restriking? You might have studied in PGTB in S5. So whenever there is a fault, the fault current, you can see this picture, the fault current reaches a zero here. At this point, we will be disconnecting the circuit breaker, and when the current is zero, the voltage across the circuit breaker points will tremendously increase and slowly it will decay out as the arc between the circuit breaker point is extinguished, and this is called the restriking voltage. So neutral grounding also helps in limiting the magnitude of these transient over voltages. Now we will discuss what are the issues while designing the grounding system of a microgrid. So the first issue is providing effective neutral grounding for the MV system in standalone when the MV-LV transformer is delta Y connected. Now the question is how we can ground the delta side of a transformer, and the answer is grounding transformer. We will see it in the next slide. Second issue is providing effective neutral grounding for the LV distribution network system in a standalone mode when the MV-LV distribution transformer is Y grounded and Y grounded. Then third is the compatibility between grounding of the MV system within the microgrid and that of the utility feeder. So compatibility of the grounding on two sides, that is a third issue. And fourthly, whether the grounding system for the microgrid complies with the grounding requirements of the DERs. Utility companies normally employ YY step-down distribution transformers. So grounding is not an issue here. For microgrids, connections like Y delta or delta delta should be considered. So in such cases, we should go for a grounding transformers. These are some of the factors which we should consider while deciding the connection of the distribution transformer. One is the backfeed voltages and surge arrestor ratings. Backfeed voltages are voltages coming from another circuit. We will see it through an example in the following slides. Coordination of ground relays unbalanced feeder loads. Ground relaying for feeders, need for grounding transformers, and magnitude of LV fault currents. So for those who don't remember surge arrestor, it is a device to protect the equipments from overvoltage transients caused by external or internal events. External events are normally lightning, and internal events are switching events. Basically, it diverts electrical surges using a metal oxide varistor or MOV. A grounding transformer is shown here. You can see this is a delta transformer, and if there is a fault on the R phase, the fault current can go to the ground through the grounding transformer. Backfed voltages are voltages that often originate from another circuit or part of the equipment itself by backfeed through indicating lights, control power transformer, or even resistors in equipment. You can see this particular line is disconnected, but still you can see there is the voltage between this point and the ground, which is coming from other circuits, which is called the backfeed voltage. So this is another example of a backfeed voltage. You see this circuit, there is a fault over here and there is a circuit breaker here. So when there is a fault here, it is expected that this circuit breaker clears the fault. But you can see that there is a current flowing from this DG through this circuit breaker and through this circuit to the fault point. So this basically creates a tripping of the wrong circuit breaker, and we call it sympathetic tripping. So with that, we end this session. I am Dr. Unnikrishnan PC signing off. We will see you with another session soon. Thank you very much.